All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Sports Medicine Broadcast, a podcast to promote and improve your practice as an athletic trainer. Today, Jovan will share what it looks like to be a ringside athletic trainer. Jovan is a professional cutman and an athletic trainer at DC Public Schools, and so he's going to talk about how he's mixing both medicine and bloodletting as a medical professional. So this is sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/Cutman, one word, Cutman. So sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/Cutman. Of course, I am your host, Jeremy Jackson, and this is exciting because I really don't know anything about boxing other than what you see by watching Rocky or something like that. And so Jovan will educate me as well as you. So Jovan, welcome to the podcast today, and why don't you get us started with your athletic trainer story?
Cool. Thank you for having me, Jeremy and everyone. Jovan means native Washingtonian. Been an athletic trainer for a little over 16 years. I work for DC Public Schools full-time as an athletic trainer. I went to North Carolina Central University and then California University of Pennsylvania for my master's, and came back to Washington, D.C. to work as a full-time athletic trainer, and actually back in the same D.C. public schools that I, grew up in, and had an athletic trainer and by the name of Don Bracely. But we all, worked back together now. The same athletic trainer that I had when I was in high school. So that's how I got introduced to athletic training.
All right, so are you in DC Public Schools? Are you working in a high school, or do y'all work as a district? Because I know here, Houston ISD, they have athletic trainers that kind of work at the stadiums. Here in Pasadena ISD, which is literally like across the street, we have two athletic trainers in all high school. What does that look like for you?
We all work together, but we're based out of high schools, but we work for the whole district. So we have some middle school responsibilities and maybe a couple of elementary event here and there. So, but we take care of pretty much the whole public school setting. And we're secondary school, but middle school and a little tad bit of elementary, maybe like a track meet or something small like that. We take care of the whole city.
Gotcha. So you're based out of the high school. Are you at the same high school that you graduated from?
Oh, I'm not. Actually, Ms. Bracely is still there. So I'm at a crosstown high school, but I have worked events there, and like we all have each other back. So if she's out or something, I may cover something or take care of kids and events at her high school or our high school, because we all work together pretty much.
Gotcha. So I think I've had this conversation before. I graduated from Houston Baptist University. I graduated actually from Pasadena ISD where I work, and then Houston Baptist University. And then I came over here to Pasadena High School, and then I was offered the job over there at Dobie whenever their athletic trainers were leaving. That's where I graduated from, was Dobie. And I just personally never wanted to go back and work at the high school that I went to. So how do you feel about that? If you were offered that job, would you go back there?
Probably now, since I've been back 16 plus years, it's totally, everyone is gone and different, and I wouldn't mind. Actually, it's closer to my home. But when I first got back, when I got hired by Dr. Walters, he didn't want me to go back because I was still familiar with everyone and just wanted me to be my own person and start fresh. So, but I would go back if I had the opportunity.
Makes sense because, sometimes we'll get some of the coaches, they come back right after graduating college, if they graduated from here. So then 4 years later, so some of these kids, they used to play volleyball or soccer or whatever it is with their older siblings. And then it's kind of weird. So I can definitely understand that aspect.
It was.
So, all right. So you talked about how you became an athletic trainer, and then let's talk a little bit more about how you got into being a cutman. Were you into boxing as a kid, anything like that?
I didn't box per se, but I always was a fan of boxing and actually mixed martial arts. And it's funny because, just looking around, I've been doing the high school for 16 years and just wanted to try to do something also non-traditional, just looking for a way to expand. And I watching actually ordered a fight with my son, and he actually was like, "Dad, that's similar to what you do." And seeing the guys handing the cut, and I was like, wow, I just had an epiphany. I was like, let me do some more research. I always saw it, but I never figured myself trying to do that. So I just did what kids this generation do and start YouTubing and going to Instagram and looking up famous Cutman and Cutmen in the area, and actually um, reached out to a few, asking what does it entail, what do you, any certifications, and how do I go about being a Cutman. And a few of them reached back and gave me some advice, and that's when I start pursuing the Cutman and what I need to be a Cutman, and the I guess the family of being a Cutman into sports and boxing.
All right, well, keep telling me, what did it take?
Okay, cool, man. It's funny. I reached out to a few people on Instagram, and actually one of the top Cutmen in United States right now, Mike Rodriguez, reached back to me, and he ended up being my mentor, and was telling me some things about being a Cutman and what you need, because a lot of people wouldn't hit me back because it's kind of competitive, and it's kind of like an inside thing. Like you either come up in it or you really don't come in from the outside. That I learned, but now that I know how to get in and meet the people and get in the Cutman, I figured that out. So I could tell you a quick story how I knew it was meant to be. After I reached out to Mike Rodriguez, crazy thing, about 2 weeks later, he was having a fight, a national televised fight in Virginia, not far away from where I stay. And he was like, well, the day before the fight, I'm giving a little tutorial at this mixed martial arts gym on how to wrap hands or how to be a Cutman, just, a little quick impromptu thing. And he was like, man, come on out. So I drove about an hour away and went to this, and went to the little seminar, thing, for free. And I met him, and, we started talking back and forth, and it was just perfect. It went on from there. And the wild thing is the fighter that he was fighting with, or being a Cutman for, the next day was out of towner. He was coming from Philly, and he was fighting the big undefeated guy from DC, and his fighter ended up winning and becoming a unanimous champion. So it was just big. It was wild. So that's how he helped me out into being getting into the Cutman scenario.
All right, so is it permissible for you to kind of give that information, kind of like what you learned at that seminar? So how do you get started as a Cutman?
Definitely. I mean, he broke down how to, some guys wrap hands, and I always consider myself a good ankle wrapper, or did a great thumb spiker here and there, but a boxing hand job is totally different. There's a lot of layers. It takes about me right now, and I've been practicing for over a couple years, about 12 minutes to do one hand, and that's pretty good. So he went over different techniques. I'll maybe a little later I'll show you some of the tape and different things that I use. But he went over the techniques, went over some blood stopping techniques around eyes and swelling control, and how to get in and out the ring, and how quick, because we got 60 seconds and we got to be in our seat. But when that bell ring, how to run up there, handle the cut, swelling, maybe have to cool the fighter down and get out within 50 seconds and back down to your seat. He went over things like that, and I was like, wow, I was hooked. I was like, man, this is similar to what I do already. impromptu, getting there, seeing the injury before it happened. Same thing with boxing. You see the punches landing before you go. You be like, he's about to swell up, or he might get cut, or you might see a headbutt, and you already thinking what you're about to do, with technique you're about to use. And I was like, this is what I do when I on a football field or volleyball court or basketball. I see the foul, I see the hard hit. I know when that person is limping was what I'm going to do next. So it was just like a perfect little mesh when I saw that, and that's how I went from there. And if you want, I can tell you the next story about Mike. That's cool. Yeah. So I can tell you how crazy, like how perfect it was and timing. So after that, he won the championship. The guy, we were lined up. It was 2019. Vegas NATA convention, and I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna be in Vegas, whatever that weekend was." And he was like, "Wow, I'm working a line of fights that weekend. That's going to be on pay-per-view, PBC, and pay-per-view." And he was like, maybe I can try to reach out and talk to a couple people. Maybe I can get you, to come shadow. And I was like, heck yeah. So, and it was just a perfect, because it was like the weekend, like I changed my flight and got there a couple days earlier, because I think the fight may have been on that Saturday or Sunday, and convention started on Monday. I can't remember exactly, but it was a day or two earlier. And he was like, "It's no guarantees." But once I went out there and I realized how big he was in boxing, and everyone knew him, and he knew everyone, and if you into boxing, it's certain special referees, it's certain promoters, it's certain guys that's always on the TV, and they would come, "Hey, Mike, talking to him, what's the next fight or this?" I was like, "Oh, he knows everyone." So, and I think we was at the MGM. I got to meet Julian Williams. At that point was the undisputed champion at 154 pounds. So we had breakfast at the hotel right before that. Julian paid, the champ paid. So I was like, wow, this is, very interesting and great. So the day before, he was like, actually it might've been the day of the event. He was like, "Well, I got you backspace passes, and actually you can come shadow." So I'm thinking I can just do some behind the scenes thing, watch him tape a few hands or rap. He was like, "Well, I got to go by one of the fighters' hotel room." So we went up to the top suite, and there was a guy named Chris Colbert. He is undefeated, aka Prime Time, aka Lord B Hop. I didn't know him from Adam. He introduced me into his hotel room. I was like, "Wow, this how they live." He gave me a shirt and gear. He was like, "Hey, I want you to walk out with me." I said, "What?" So before the fight, after the fight, pre-fight, I got to walk out in Las Vegas at the MGM for a big time fight. I think he was maybe 5-0 at this time, and once I saw that experience, it was awesome, and I was like, "Yo, this is what I want to do." But also, Mike was like, "Hey, this is the big time. This, you got to start off from the bottom." And I was like, I'm ready to put the work in to get there, and to experience some of this. It was just a great experience and perfect timing, actually.
That really is cool. Just how the things worked out. Being heading to Vegas already a couple days early. I want to go back to, it takes you 12 minutes to wrap one hand. So obviously I saw whatever that Jordan B. Whatever his name
Creed,
is. Creed. Yeah, and so he's talking about like wrapping his hands, and he's like, "Oh, take it off, I gotta go poop," that kind of thing. Because I was like, "There's no way." I mean, he's just wrapping up his hand. So tell me a little bit more about what it takes to tape that one hand that takes you 12 minutes.
Oh man, it's awesome. Starting off, each boxing commission has a little bit different of what you can do to tape a hand, and how much gauze you can use, stretchy gauze. So we using pre-wrap for under tapes or ankles, or maybe no wrap at all. You got to use a certain gauze. a certain length, and also uh, a certain amount of tape per hand. You can't go over. Um, so it takes time to you make hand pads, knuckle pads out of this gauze. You wrap it around your hand, make gauze pads. I mean, knuckle pads. If you see fighters that have a thick uh, pad that protects their knuckles, but also you can't put tape over their knuckles, so you got to be an inch away from the knuckles. So you got to time that perfectly because each hand wrap when you're in back is monitored by a boxing referee or official. So if you mess up and that tape goes a little further, you'll have to do it over. So you want to be meticulous that you don't want to you want to have that inch. And also someone's, especially if it's a championship fight, someone from the opposite team is there to watch also. So they don't want to make sure you don't layer it uh, a certain way to make a disadvantage. So you got to go over with the under wrap. Then you're taping a certain amount. Use inch tape. You can do up into an inch and a half, but use about an inch tape. Uh, and you got to keep going over. It's almost like plywood because you're going different directions and you want to cover the different carpal bones and different things. You want to layer to protect that fight. Some fighters have more fragile hands, so they want their pad a little thicker than big heavyweight guys. They might have a little bit less padding, but you got to go through so much tape, and it's just a technique, meticulous technique that you want to go over. And also some commissions have different rules. You can go between the fingers with no more than a half an inch tape. Some people do a little twist technique with a tape. They twist it and go between the knuckles. Some commissions, that's illegal because they say you can feel it. There's no way you can feel it. But anyway, that's illegal in some commissions. So you want to make sure you're there with the professional, the guy looking over the other team, and hey, I'm doing this correct. So what I do, I go through to the each Nevada, or if it's DC, if it's Baltimore. Right now, since I'm in DC, like I go 5 minutes, I'm in Virginia. I go another 5 minutes, I'm in Maryland. So I get certified in those three states, but they all got a little different on how they can do a hand wrap. So I don't want to go to Maryland and do a Virginia hand wrap or vice versa. So that's how it takes a little bit more time. Hopefully that answered the question a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, like I said, all I know is from watching Creed or Rocky,
Yeah.
and so, like I said, I was like, why does it take so long? And you do see them wrapping all around, and it's interesting to see. Have you had that mistake to where you have done the wrong certification, wrong tape, and had to start over?
No, I have not, but because I try to be very meticulous, but some of the fighters you can go a little tighter or go a little looser, and I always try to err on being a little bit restrictive. But some of the guys, they get a little hype and that blood start flowing, and they be like, "Oh man, it's too tight. You got to maybe do an adjustment." Kind of the same if you used to with an ankle wrap or something. Someone's not used to it, or they're not used to you, and you might have to adjust it a little bit, just because they want to get comfortable. You definitely don't want their hands going numb or something in the middle of a fight. So I try to make sure I'm doing it correctly and the way they like it. If I have to do it over, maybe I try to adjust it, take a couple layers off, because it's about, I can't even imagine, at least 10 different layers and different directions of the way you go in the tapes, so you can protect those hands, because those would make their money. So you pretty much layering it. I think one of the other Cutman said to consider it almost like plywood. It's just a whole bunch of pieces of tape going in different directions, and but to make it stronger. So I haven't made that mistake of having to do it over, but definitely had to adjust a little bit.
So your son kind of started all this for you. Say, hey, Dad, you could do this. Has he been
Yep.
able to participate in it with you?
Actually, I wanted because right now I do a lot of volunteer work at the local Oxon Hill Boxing Club. It's one of the top boxing clubs for amateurs in this uh, area, this region. Actually, I didn't know that. I actually knew it. It's funny. a coach. And I looked, and when doing my research, I was like, wow, he works at a boxing gym. I reached out to one of my former football coaches. He was like, yeah, come over and you know, look and see how I do it. You can practice wrapping your hands on some of the amateurs. And they brought me in, and I've been trying to convince my son to come over, but he's more of a he's not that type of guy, if I could say that. He's not that physical. He goes to an academic school. I was like, come on, try it out. It's amateurs, but that's not his thing. But I have a 4-year-old, and I think he might be a boxer. He's physical. I think he might be the one.
I got you. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the hand wrapping, and you mentioned as an athletic trainer, you're sitting there, you're watching. Okay, well, I think he may be hurt here, or this is what I can expect to see from him. So, talk a little bit more about what a professional cutman does, other than taping hands and protecting those money makers, and then how, as an athletic trainer, those kind of work together.
Oh man, that's a great question. Just to piggyback off a little bit, and what made me a little bit more, I can say, valuable is actually a lot of cutmen. Well, I'm gonna say a lot. Some do not even tape hands. Tape hands, that's like a bonus. Some cutmen are mostly just what I'm about to explain now, just taking care of the swelling and the cuts and seeing the injury. So we're on the side or the apron, and they give you a warning right before a 10-second that the ring is about the round is about to end. So you want to be looking at your fighter. You seeing that he's catching a lot of right hands. So his left eyes is probably going to be swollen. Maybe not yet. So we have different tools. If the most famous people see is the end swell. So you keep that on ice, and you can go straight for that eye that that's going to get swollen up, put a little bit of cold and a bit of compression on it. We keep it in the ice bucket and put some compression, and to even before that it is going to be swollen. Just from that, our athletic training, we know that we can see little things that's going to happen. You know that swelling is going to come, that he's going to bruise up. So that's how that athletic training comes in, from watching sports or seeing things like that. Also, wound care is already in our curriculum, knowing that wound care and compression, trying to get cuts to coagulate and things of that nature. So if I see that cut, I'm going right there, trying to put that pressure on it, and to try to stop that the bleeding. So you might be having swelling on one eye and then a cut on the other eye. So you got to kind of use what you see. I'm kind of having a blank, but was the most crucial. If someone's bleeding over their eye, you don't want it to run down in their vision. So you might attack that cut over the eye, and then maybe the swelling under the opposite eye be your second go to, or try to do both at the same time. And that goes to the athletic training. We taught to go in progression of the most serious of an injury, or your ABCs, if you want to think of it that in that type of thing.
So that's actually a great great point right there. What is your priority? So for high school athletics, if a kid is bleeding, it could be bleeding from their elbow, and it completely doesn't affect anything at all other than there's blood on somebody's jersey. So we have to get them out, get the wound covered, and then get the blood off the jersey. But in boxing, if you swell up over the eye, then you can't see, then that whole side is vulnerable. Yes. So what is the priority there?
I always go more if it's bleeding over the eye, I go over the eye first, because gravity will take it right into the eye, and then I'll go definitely swelling next. If he's bleeding under the eye, but one is swelling and he can't hardly see, I try to attack that swelling, because you want him to be able to see that vision, especially if you keep getting hit with the left. You want him to be able to see left. So I try to attack the next, just any swelling definitely over around the eye. next. So I definitely want the vision. Is definitely priority. If his nose is bleeding, third, then that'll be third. Like the nose, okay. I try to just stick a nose plug up there, and hopefully, we can stop the bleeding. But anything around that vision is definitely going to be my first priority. Blood and swelling, but that swelling can definitely get worse. That's why I said I try to even pre-treat the swelling, because I know it's coming, and do it that way.
All right, so you said that tool, I think you said it was called Inswell. I don't know. Is that what you said it was?
Yeah, Inswell.
So
Or
So is that just metal? Because I know that we have like these cryo ball things, or we even have like at the house a spatula that has like the liquid nitrogen or something inside of it that keeps it colder, keeps it from like freezing. Did does that tool have anything inside of it, or is it just metal?
it's just metal. But I have seen they're coming out with some you can put like some ice in it, and it's metal on the outside to keep it a little bit cooler. I think it's so much advancement that we can bring from athletic training over to being a cut man. Like I can get into it. It's so many things. I was like, oh, we can use that and bring it over here, but we just got to make sure it's legal in the fighting, like that. So I don't know exactly about that, but it definitely can be. I bring different techniques and different things over, from it. So this little inswell, but I also got a stainless steel ice cream scoop. I keep on cold, and it fits very well in the orbital and the eye sockets to push down that pressure. So just thinking of little things like that, I actually got the idea similar from a mentor, and I was like, man, that's perfect. It can fit in there and go inside that eye socket a little bit. So I look for different things around, or maybe an athletic training room that I can use over, um, to move into the Cutman field. So it's a lot of room for growth and opportunity to go between back and forth.
All right, so you said bleeding over the eye is the number one priority.
Yeah,
Nose is kind of important, but not hugely. All right, so
yeah.
what do you do to help stop that blood over the eye with somebody who's super sweaty, who's only got 60 seconds, and has got three other things going on?
Me, me personally, I for that blood over eye is I have these like Q-tips, but not regular Q-tips. They're actually pretty long, and I actually got these online looking for, and these actually dog ear cleaners. And they go across the whole brow, like pretty long, and you can actually put the ice over compression and hold this in, and try to get that wound closed, and get it to coagulate. But um, some professional cutmans, you are allowed a couple different medicines to use to one vasoconstrictor that pretty much everyone uses, adrenaline 1 and 1000, and it's almost like epinephrine, and it if you got a deep cut, or most of the professional guys, and or if you work with someone a lot, they all live by that mostly, and that close that wound up. And then there's a couple other coagulants, Avitine is the name, and thrombin they use. But most of those, I don't mess with it because it works better when you're dry. And if blood is not dry, and then they sweat, and you really gotta work with that stuff, in the middle of a 60 seconds or 50 seconds, because you got to get it in the ring and out the ring. So me, compression, ice, my go-tos. And actually I haven't had any big issues or anything like that. I usually can get it stopped. Wipe the wound off real good with a gauze, a 4x4 first, and then I go in with the Q-tip and compression. Then I may put a ice pack right over top of that, and it's been working like a charm. I haven't had to go to meds yet or use anything like that.
So, if you were active at all in the secondary school Facebook group,
Mm-hmm.
then you would have seen people probably every 2 or 3 months talking about the heel bump for nosebleeds. Have you ever done that?
some of my colleagues live by that heel bump thing. I have not done it. And then two, I always like, is the leg straight? Is it down? Two bumps? Like, I just don't want to have to think about that so quickly. But everyone has used it as that. They told me it has worked. And maybe I would try that in like a training session or something like that, but not in the middle of an event. But it's not out of the question. It's just that I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, that's always the thing. There's no real like this is the procedure. It's like okay, well, stomp the heel real hard on the ground or lay them on the whatever.
Yeah.
It's got to be the opposite nostril and leg and those kind
Yeah,
of
I
things.
heard so many things.
All right, so everybody always wants to hear like a horror story. Like what's the worst that you've seen in boxing?
Okay, the worst that I've seen is actually one of my first fights. The the guy, I guess I'll give you a little backstory later about how you find fighters or different like things like that. But it was my first day meeting the guy, and I worked this corner, so I was just there for mostly cuts and things like that. But I saw in the middle of the round that he got whacked. I knew that he wasn't where he needed to be. If he was one of my high school guys, I know he would have been pulled from the game. Put it that much. But boxing is a little different. Like they all want to. Well, I guess it can be the same for fighters. Just want to go back and want to go more. But in my deep mind, I should have told this coach to throw in the towel. Man, he went back in there. He got hit so hard and got knocked out. Eyes rolled. I thought he was, he was done for good. I was like, I hope I didn't just watch this guy die in the ring. So that's how bad it looked. He ended up, coming to for a little, a little while later, and I think he did go to the emergency room and probably had some severe concussion. But that was my scariest, and it wasn't even a blood or eye. It was just seeing this guy get knocked out, that up and close in person, and he was a good guy. Like we talked and had fun before, and to see him get knocked out is something to, I guess it's part of the sport, but it's the toughest for me seeing someone that or work with lose bad.
Yeah. So what does that mean for you as a Cutman? Because you're not the athletic trainer to step in. Are you the medical professional that steps in and says, okay, well, now we have to keep him still, hold C-spine until EMS arrives? So what does that look like?
Yeah, we're not. They have a set of EMTs. They have every fight doc, but I am the cut man especially. But you do work together with the coach, and from knowing just from experience, you can suggest that, hey, I don't think you can go anymore. It's not your call. I'm so used to athletic training. It's definitely my call, but I can say to the fight doc, nah, no, something like that. Like I don't think so. That he can go anymore. So I don't have to hold speed spine. Actually, they want you to get out the ring as soon as possible, as soon as he knocked out. Like when I saw that fight, I wanted to go hold C-spine. I wanted to go. The first thing, they want you out, and they bring in the ring doc to come in, and then the EMTs, they come in and spine board or anything. What's next? That's how the procedure goes.
Yeah, definitely different, and I'm sure it takes some training to not jump in because as an athletic trainer first, that's what you've been doing. So
yeah, definitely.
You talked about a couple of the guys in Las Vegas, so that you go up to the penthouse suite and working your way up to the big time there. And you said one of the guys, a couple of the guys were undefeated. Has there been a person to where you were starstruck? You didn't really know, like, oh my gosh, this guy, I've been watching him for years or something like that?
Actually, yes. That same night, the Charlo brothers, if I know, they're both they're twin brothers, and they both world title holders, and they both was there, just sitting around shooting. One brother actually fought that night, but the other brother was in the back just chilling, and a couple also really big time like trainers were there. Guys I seen that work with like like a Bernard Hopkins or Floyd, not really a Floyd Mayweather, but other people, and big people I seen on TV that were there. But I think that the Charlo brothers was the big. I was like, wow, and they just regular people chilling, with their jewels.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so that was good. I can go. Uh, you know, um, I don't know if you had a question, but yeah, so that was the big time. But start to get the work in, you got to start from the bottom, and so that's what I learned, starting from the bottom to get there. And actually, that's where I get uh, the best practice, if I can say, is fighters that do get hit. So you end up going to local fights or local shows, and talking to guys that they bring in. Um, if you're familiar, the B-side guys, um, guys that usually they come in as 1-5, 1-6, and to lose pretty much, so the other guy can get his record up to 5-0 and 6-0. So I end up wanting to work with those guys. My mentor told me, he was like, "Hey, it's easy to be a cut man for someone that don't get cut or don't get hit. So to get the work in and get the practice, I go with the guys that are not as good, because they're going to get hit. They're going to get work. So I usually work with those guys now, just to get my training, and they appreciate even more, because a lot of these guys come from out of town. They don't get paid as much, and they pretty much know they bringing them in to lose. So for someone that want to be, you know, to work with them, also I'm giving them an A1 tape job. Like, I think my tapes are, my one of my hashtags is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper, because I can rap them hands. So they getting an A1 tape job. I'm gonna take care of them professional. I've been doing athletic training for 16 years, and they're very appreciative to have someone like me in their corner, and they don't have the big time money or the big time whatever. And I give them the same treatment and the same work, and it's a great experience to meet these people, and they look out for you. They be like, if you ever in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, come see me, things like that. So I got a lot of stories and experiences. It's great though. Great.
So it sounds like it's a lot about relationships, and that's interesting because you meet Mike, who was pretty much a big name, but then he's telling you, hey, you need to work with these almost nobodies, these guys that aren't going to be winning and carrying you along with them. So it's an interesting balance to see. What else would you say to somebody who maybe wants to kind of get into being a cut man as an athletic trainer?
Definitely experiences. Definitely jump on YouTube. Jump on Instagram. Follow people. Hit me up _ATC_Joe, and we can talk. And but definitely go to your local boxing gyms. And I've been turned away from a couple, or they was like, who is this guy? They don't know what athletic trainers are or how it even relate. You tell them your experience, they just don't get it. But just go to a couple, and then someone's going to know what athletic trainer is. Some of them going to be boxers at the Oxon Hill gym. A lot of the boxers play basketball, football, play other sports. So they kind of have a little bit of knowledge what you do, or the coaches play football, sports. So just keep knocking on doors and keep reaching out to people. You're going to find someone like Mike. You're going to find someone like me. Guy locally, Reggie Brown, took me in, gave me all his hookups, walking me to how to approach guys that coming from the B side and out of town, and took me to different promoters, and let me know how it goes, how to go in to the weigh-ins the day before, to meet the boxers, to meet the trainers and things like that. I would have never known without, someone pretty much walking me through and teaching me how to do it. And I want to do it to someone else if they want to.
What do you feel like is your favorite experience so far? It sounds like Las Vegas may be one of those, but what is your favorite experience as a cut man?
Crazy. This is my favorite experience so far, and out of many. So, like I told you, I go to the B side. I meet guys from out of town. that come in, to take, a small purse, but, they got to feed their family, and they do this, might be their side job or something of that nature. I actually met a brother, two guys from Dallas, Texas. And I go to the weigh-in. How I do, I go to the weigh-in the day before, because a lot of these guys don't come in until the day before to fight the local like champions and things of that nature. So he came in. I saw him. He looked like he was it was just two brothers. I was like, oh, you know, such and such. I look at the roster, and I was like, you interested in, Cutman services? I tell him, how much I charge and what I'll do for him and things of that nature. And he was like, heck yeah. He was excited. He was like, heck yeah, it's just me and my brother. So I was like, okay. And so I was like, I'll meet you the next day, come, like I said, it takes at least 30 minutes to wrap your hands, and then they got to warm up and things like that. So I meet people maybe 3 hours before the fight. And that's if I usually have multiple guys that I work with. So I, time it. And so I was there, and I wrapped his hands and things like that. And he was like, I always communicate with the coach and like, I can go in the ring, or you can go in, because only one person can be in a ring, but we hang through the ropes. But he was like, nah, you can go in the ring and, handle your business. And he was like, actually, could you coach also? It's like, huh? The brother was like, I don't know nothing about it. He's like, could you be my coach? So I was like, okay, he was like, if you see anything, just tell me to do this. I was like, oh, okay. I watched boxing enough, and it's funny, I end up helping my football coaches and different things. I was like, I can do this. So we get to the fight. I looked at his record. He 1-5. He fighting the guy 6-0. The guy come out flashy, all the nice tights. My guy have on some, decent boxing trunks. And the funny thing about it, the guy that he was fighting that was 6-0, that was a local favorite. Actually, my wife's best friend, that was like her nephew. So like I actually kind of knew him. I was like, wow. And he was 6-0. So I was like, all right, I'll if I see anything, I'm assuming this guy's not that great. I was like, if I see something, so I end up actually really coaching this guy while being a cut man, duck, bob and weave, just use your jab, try not to get hit on this side. This guy had the heart of a lion. He ended up winning this fight, upsetting the guy. He to bring his record to like 2-5, 2-6, and the other guy had his first loss from some guy that he brought in from Texas that I didn't give a chance hell to winning. So on my record, I'm 1-0. I'm undefeated. I tell my son I'm undefeated as a boxing coach.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
so you hear about some athletic trainers having to coach because coach gets ejected or something like that. Yeah. You're talking about like the sophomore girls basketball, whatever it is, and so
exactly. That's how I felt.
All right. Any other stories, wisdom that you want to impart?
Wisdom. Not really stories. The guy, my mentor Mike, actually, he's part owner of War Tape, and War Tape is a boxing tape, and we used to different tapes and things of that nature, and it's just so cool that the MMA guys or different when they have their own tape. But actually, I was just saying it actually works well. It's just that I just wanted to my wisdom is that if you can tape ankles and things like that, you can learn how to tape the boxing gloves and stuff like that. It's the same tape or anything like that. It's just that you're so familiar with using 1-inch tape, and we're usually 1.5 usually and stuff like that. But it all correlates and stuff. So you can come on over, and then we'll be a little bit ahead of the game, because like I said earlier, a lot of cut men, I ain't gonna say a lot, but some cut men do not tape tape hands. They're so used to your coaches and stuff doing it, and I think we got a one-up because we're so used to tape and things like that. So when my mentor found out he had a tape and I could tape. I was like, yeah. He was like, can you give me a honest opinion of how my tape is? I was like, oh, it's pretty nice. It's pretty actually pretty good. So it definitely compares to what I'm used to using and stuff like that. So it's a lot of interchangeable from AT and Cutman. So it's great.
Right, so on a similar note, do you always use the same one? I know you said different fighters have their own. Is it just basically whatever they can get, or does it have to be a certain type of tape?
Uh, it doesn't have a certain type of tape. I usually some of the guys that come out of town, they bring their own tape, but I actually like using the war tape. Um, so I just use what I have, and then like I said, my mentor is Mike. He sent me some, and I just go ahead and use it, and then they have something unique. I don't know if any of the tape, the athletic train, I ain't gonna say regular because it's technically athletic training tape too. That it can come in a whole roll, but then you can split it in half, and it comes to a half-inch tape. So I don't know, instead of trying to split it yourself or having a separate roll for an inch and a half like that. So it's unique, and I like using that. So I try to use that. And then once they see this, um, it, it's kind of crazy because it's logo tape, and it's like the top tape for MMA and boxing. Kind of give you a little bit of credibility. It was like, oh, I want that. It's expensive too, though.
It's kind of like, oh, I want the black pre-wrap. It's underneath the tape. You can't
exactly,
see it, but I want the black
exactly. That's how it is.
Gotcha. All right, hey, Joe, I've learned a lot. Again, like I said, I know nothing about boxing. And then we've talked a lot about how your athletic training has helped your being a cut man. So how has being a cut man helped you being an athletic trainer?
Definitely dealing just to practice with wound care, because I had a basketball guy take an elbow, and like I said, we see stuff, but I saw that before he got up. I said he's going to bleed everywhere, and no one saw it. He ran off to the court and just with a trail of blood, and no one saw it for a second. I said I was already on my mind. I knew just from that hit that he was going to bleed, and I went and jumped into a Cutman mode, and before his coaches and actually the visiting AT was there, because we worked together. Actually, Jennifer Rilling, she's been on one of your podcasts. Mm-hmm. She was there, and I had it stopped and closed before they even got over there. In my room, and they was like, "Hey, what did you do? That's your cut man coming in to because I was doing cut man." I was like, "Yep, I had it closed," and I sturdy stripped him. He ended up going to get stitches. He didn't go back in, but he could have played if he really. I think it might have been a blowout, so he didn't play. But I had him closed up and sturdy stripped and wound cared pretty quickly, and just been that comfortable and seeing stuff, and I knew that how much blood and stuff that was going to come out of that cut in that area where it was in the eye. Some parts bleed a little bit heavier, and I just knew it was going to leak. If that helps.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it just, like you said, it prepares your vision as in like analyzing, hey, I know what's going to happen, and then knowing what to do, boom, 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 because you're used to having to work really quick. And
yeah, because he ran off. I think someone might have thought he had to use the bathroom, but I knew that he took a hit, and that he was about to start bleeding everywhere, and I had him and took care of him very quickly.
All right, so you had mentioned on Instagram _ATC_Joe, that's JO, as a way to get a hold of you. You also have your Facebook on the infographic there. And let me switch back to that real quick, the live stream. So that's Jovan C. Means on Facebook. So if you want to reach out to, or I'm sorry, I said your name wrong. You said it. Say it for me.
Jovan.
Jovan. Okay. Yeah. Jovan. I apologize for that.
No, that's cool.
Jovan C. Means on Facebook. So, Jovan, leave us with one last thing. I don't know, whatever it is. If it's a plug for your school, plug for Mike's War Tape, for athletic trainers.
Oh, okay.
Just one last thought.
Mike's War Tape is great. Definitely check it out. You can still tape ankle with it, but it's great. I want to give a shout out to my friend Donnie the Valentine. She's going to have the Function Junction. I may go into JVing or joint venturing with her to bring more of a rehab / healthcare aspect into the Cutman, because it's a lot of room to grow for even the injury aspects, the after the training, the sports performance aspect of boxing and MMA. So maybe we'll do something in the future, but also coming soon. My Cutman company is going to be In the Cutman LLC. Will be coming soon.
All right, so there you go. So check it out. Where do you get your mentorships there started? Checking out with Mr. Means, and then you said Donita Valentine. I think she just started a podcast with Brandon Holland, Top DAT, right?
Yes. Yeah. She's a coworker of mine, also, and a good friend of mine. And she's starting a company that functional movement and things of that nature that I think definitely help out with some of my guys.
Gotcha. Very cool. So check out. There you go. The Donita Valentine and the podcast that she's on, and in what did you say? In the
Cutman.
In the Cutman. In the Cutman. If you want to see, if you want to just find out more. So fantastic.
Yeah, you hit me up. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So this is sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/Cutman. Again, that's one word, CUTMAN. Sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/Cutman. If you are being a Cutman, maybe you like to use recovery stuff. So the Mark Pro, you can use the code DSMB. I don't know if that's anything, if that's appropriate as a Cutman. It doesn't sound like it really is, but maybe it's something you can kind of share with your fighters if you are interested in being a Cutman. It gets you a discount. And also Compex, I've got an email that gives them a good discount for the Compex if you got somebody wanting to recover after a fight, and it's pretty cool because they can recover while they're driving or using the Firefly recovery. Gets rid of that soreness and helps them feel fresher. sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/Cutman. Again, I appreciate you being on here, sharing your stories, and then I just look forward to hearing some more. Maybe after you get your joint venture or your business has started, we talk again about how you're an athletic trainer and a businessman. So for Jeremy, and then whenever I mess up a name, I continue to mess it up. So one more time, tell me your name.
Jovan means.
Jovan. Jovan. I keep wanting to say Jovan, and I know that you corrected it very politely at first. You just said Jovan. All right. So for Jeremy, Jovan, the Sports Medicine Broadcast in the Cutman, that is a wrap. Thanks.
Yeah.